Okay, good evening all.
Good evening.
Thank you so much.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. That's something, right? Have I met any of you? Have any of you met me?
Yeah.
Where?
Here, last year.
Can I think?
Here, last year.
May. Colwell.
Gateway.
Gateways, YouTube. All right, here we go. Let's get cracking. So, just by way of introduction.
Technically written now.
Before you yell louder.
My name is Rav Gav Friedman, aka Rav Gav, originally from a place called Woodmere, New York. Been living out in Israel for the past 17 years. Married, got a bunch of kids, like long walks on the beach and guitar. Any questions? Let's start. Okay, so you've seen a lot of stuff so far, and like the great Holy Rabbi discussed, this is quite a heavy class. Now, when I say it's a heavy class, I mean to say that it's very, very impressive. And if you get it, if you're not impressed, it's okay. But anyway, it's a very, very impressive class, but you have to be paying attention to what's going on here. Yeah, this really is part of a greater seminar known as the Discovery Seminar. Anyone been to it? Ever seen it or whatever it is? Okay, so if you've heard this class before, you know the routine by now. Don't be that guy. Everyone knows who that guy is. I heard this one. Keep it down. We hate you. Right? So don't ruin it. And now the guy dies. Okay, don't be that guy. All right, here we go. So we are now going to start what's known as the 7 Wonders of Jewish History. 7 Wonders of Jewish History is going to go through the Bible itself and take a look to see, can we see through the Torah who wrote this book called the Torah. The options we have is the Torah either came from an individual or a group of individuals, a small group of individuals, or it came from something which is a little bit supernatural, more than just what we expect coming from a person. And I'm going to leave it to you to decide which one you think. So this class, 7 Wonders, takes us back to a conversation between two people, one by the name of King Louis XIV, the other known as Blaise Pascal. Now, for those unfamiliar, anyone know when this happened? Approximately, when did they live? What century?
1600.
16. Got a couple of good answers over here. 17th century, very good. Lived in the 1600s, and King Louis XIV is what we would call agnostic. Agnostic means that maybe there is a God, maybe there isn't a God, I don't know. Undecided, maybe yes, maybe no. On the other hand, though, we have this guy named Blaise Pascal. If anyone knows a little math, you'll learn Pascal's triangle, Pascal's theorem, that we have what's known as he was a mathematician. He was also known as a Christian philosopher. If you know they deal a little bit of philosophy, you know Pascal's wager. Sound familiar to anybody? No?
Yeah.
A little bit? Okay, just pretend like yes and you're good to go. Right? So Pascal's wager philosophy very much believed in God. And these have conversations all the time. How do you know there's a God? This is how you know. How do you know? This is how. How do you know? This is how. So one day, he's like, enough. Pascal, I want you to give me clear evidence of a supernatural force. Give me clear evidence that there's a supernatural force. So a Christian philosopher turns to an agnostic king and says, you want clear evidence of a supernatural force? The Jews, Your Majesty. The Jews. Who here speaks French? Any Canadians over here? Montreal?
Spanish.
Are you from Paris?
Spanish, Panama.
You're from Montreal? All right, so you read at the bottom it says La Juifs, right? Which means what? The Jews. The Jews. What does he mean when he says the Jews? What is supernatural about the Jewish people? Okay, good, right? I like that. This always happens every year. You ask a question, and 100 people go like, and one goes, they're alive. Everyone's like, that's what I said. Okay, anyway, so what he's saying is that we have, but you're correct. Whoever said this going over here, the fact that we exist. I don't know how many of you wake up in the morning, look in the mirror, and go, supernatural. You probably go, supernatural. Then you realize it's your roommate. But how many times do we say, what does it mean when we say that the Jewish people are supernatural? The words of Eddie Vedder, I don't even know that is, forget it. Okay, the point is the fact that we still exist. The fact that we still exist. Now, we're going to take a look and see a little quote from our boy, Mark Twain. Although his name was Samuel, he is not Jewish. Says Mark Twain, the Egyptian, the Babylonian, the Persian rose, filled the planet with sound and splendor, then faced the dream stuff and passed away. The Greek and the Roman followed and made a vast noise, and they are gone. Other people have sprung up and held their torch high for a time and have burned out. And they sit in twilight now or vanished. The Jews saw them all, beat him all. And is what he always was, exhibiting no decadence, no infirmities of age, no weakness of his parts, no slowing of his energies, no dulling of his alert and aggressive mind. All things are mortal but the Jew. All other forces pass, but he remains. What is the secret of his immortality? Now that's a very, very heavy statement to be coming from a non-Jew. A non-Jew comes along and tells us. Now it's sad. it's sad that I have to come and bring you non-Jewish quotes. You see, because if I came with a Jewish quote, like the Rambam says, you'd be like, who cares? I'm like, Samuel says Mark Twain. You're like, Mark says it? Oh my gosh. Because essentially what happens is that when we see non-Jewish things, we get very excited. We get very excited about it. It must be true. It must be real. It must be good. It's a little bit sad, though. A little bit sad that we aren't confident about ourselves to understand this concept. Does anyone here ever met an anti-Semite? An anti-Semitic? Okay, so some of you... Okay, then ever met a Jewish anti-Semite? Yeah, Jewish anti-Semite. Those are the fiercest ones, yeah? Who you go on a plane, if you walked into a plane and you said, I am part of the chosen people. And someone goes, that's disgusting. Who's going to be the one getting up and saying that's disgusting? Another Jew. See, a Christian might be like, I don't like it, but they are chosen. What can I do? They're chosen. But with another Jew, we just have the self-esteem issues. We have to be like, oh my gosh, how could you? There was a guy in my block, Anyway, there was a guy in my block that every Shabbos would wash his car. You can tell every time, dafka on Shabbos, in his underwear. He had this little teapot thing. He would stand like this as he would do it. I'd walk by with my talis going to shul, and he'd do this like smug and be like, Shabbos. Undertone. I'm washing my car. What now, fool? Right? So he's like a Shabbos. I'm like, you're going to hell. The crazy thing is he did. Anyway, I find that we need to see from non-Jews to get all excited about things. So we have one quote of the year. Mark Twain, who actually was an anti-Semite, but it comes like this idea, all things are more about the Jew, all things are more about the Jew, all the forces past the year means, what is the secret of this immortality? Okay, I want to give you another quote. I want you to first picture in your mind someone by the name of Leo. Does anyone know someone named Leo? Picture a Leo. Picture a Leo. Picture a Leo. Is that what you were picturing? Okay. It says Leo Tolstoy Nikolaevich, the following idea, another non-Jewish writer, the Jew is the emblem of eternity. He whom neither slaughter nor torture of thousands of years could destroy. He whom neither fire nor sword nor inquisition was able to wipe off the face of the earth. He was the first to produce the oracle of God. He who has been for so long the garden of prophecy. And I tried it once. And it was transmitted to the rest of the world. Such a nation cannot be destroyed. The Jew is as everlasting as is eternity. Says another non-Jew, a quite fascinating idea. The fact that we still exist today, people, that's quite phenomenal. That would be supernatural. But I'm going to let you again, you are going to be the ones to decide this, whether you actually believe in such a thing, you actually think it's phenomenal. Like I said before, this book called the Torah, the Bible, the Bible, if you can't read well, comes along and tells us something. We have this book, we say that it's written by God. There are those that believe that, and then there are those that say that it came from man. Some say it came from God, and that's their prerogative. Whatever. You can believe that if you like. But others say that it didn't come from God. Don't pull that move like, well, technically speaking, it came from God. He told Moses, Moses wrote it. I'm not doing that thing. I'm saying like this. The book either came from God or it came from a person. I'm going to suggest to you that this book did not come from God. There is no such thing called God. There is no Judaism. This whole idea of the Torah was totally made up. Do not leave. Do not leave until I finish this. Okay, the entire Torah. Now, if I succeed in doing that, then we're going to have a little word with me and have a bit of a problem over here. And in the Discovery Seminar, we would call it Discovery Undiscovered. But if I don't succeed in doing this, maybe the reason I'm not succeeding is because actually this book called the Torah did come from God. It did come from the divine. It did come from the supernatural. Does anybody understand the model we're using here? Yes or no?
Yes.
4 of you. Good. As long as I have 4, we're good. Okay. So again, I'm going to try to show you that it came from a person, and you're going to tell me if that makes any sense. All right? So let's pull it together now. All right, people, thank you all for coming. I'll be Moshe, naturally, and you'll be my committee. I want to start a religion.
What do you want to call it?
I want to call it Judaism.
Why Judaism?
I had a cat named Judaism. Back off. So I want to start this Judaism thing called Judaism. And you know what? I got a great prophecy I want to get at there. Because what's a religion without a prophecy? You know what I'm saying? It's a religion without a prophecy. And people along with the prophecy. So I'm going to prophesize. And the first prophecy, you tell me as a committee if you think this is a good idea. Is anyone from South Africa? South Africa? South Africa. Don't be embarrassed. Okay. That guy's everything. Okay, so here we go. So we have like this. The first prophecy we're going to tell people is that we are going to be an eternal nation. Eternal nation. Is that a good prophecy to get people pumped up to maybe joining our thing? Yes or no? Yeah. Okay, good prophecy. Eternal nation. Where do we find this actually prophesied? Cue the sound effects. Take a look in Genesis 17:7. You have it in English. If you want to read the bottom, you can, but who are you kidding? Stop it. Okay, so it says like this. And I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you throughout their generations in eternal covenant, to be be your God and the God of the descendants after you, an eternal covenant. What that means, my friends, is we are going to be here forever. How about the next one is Leviticus? I'll be the third books of the five books of Moses by Yikra 26, 44, 45, and I quote, "Thus, even while they are in the land of their enemies, I will not reject or obliterate them, lest I break my covenant with them by destroying them. For I am the Lord your God. I will remember them because of the covenant I made with their original ancestors when I brought them to the land of Egypt and the seven nations, so that I may be their God." So we find ourselves, people, two prophecies indeed telling us that we are going to be an eternal nation. And all of you as my committee so far have admitted that that's a good idea to get people pumped up. The reason I asked about South Africa, is anybody familiar with the Shabbos Project?
Yeah, they made it there.
What's that?
He started there.
Not bad. Not bad at all. Right? So the Shabbos, you're on to me. So the Shabbos Project started in South Africa, as Chaim said. What's your real name?
Baruch.
Baruch comes on, where are you from?
Panama.
Oh, Panama. Oh, hace mucho tiempo que no lo veo usted. Sí, 2 años, 3 años. 3 años. ¿Tú estudias no, Einstein?
Yes.
¿Pero acá? Einstein?
Yeah.
Einstein, okay. Bueno. Okay, so comes Baruch. And Baruch tells us, no plata, no dinero, nothing. Okay, comes along, Baruch. And he tells the funny idea. It started in Santifica, primero. Okay, so the first time it came along was in Santifica. And so then they started to pump up the jam. And all the rabbis, in Santifica, very nice place. They go and they say, what? Come to the Shabbos Project. And they got like billboards saying Shabbos Project, coming next Shabbos. And they came over there, they blimps, and they people walk around with no shirts, Shabbos! And I was like, everything's coming up, right? And all excited, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to write Eternal Nation all over the place. Now, here's the only thing. Did any of you study business or want to study business or have done business before? Okay, yes, you. No? Okay, anybody else? Who's studied or been involved in business that's actually legal? Legal. From California? Okay, Colorado? Okay, Amsterdam? Okay, what business? Whatever that. So you've been involved a little bit in business?
Yes.
You thought about business? All right, I got a deal for you. What's your name? Benjamin. Okay, Benjamin. Big name in this one. Benjamin. Okay, Benjamin. You ready? Benjamin, you give me $1 million. Not just 1 million, 1 million. And what I'm going to do is, in 3 years, I'm going to turn that 1 million to $5 million. Are you in?
Sounds good.
Has anyone studied business? Anybody studied business?
Yes.
Yeah? You give me $1 million. ¿Sí? Yo tengo nada ahora, pero en 3 años, $1 million will become $5 million. Are you in? 3 years, $5 million. 3 años, ¿sí o no?
I take it.
You take it? Okay. Anyone know their business? Yeah, what do you say? Oh, now we think a little. Very good. Comes on Moshe. What's your name? Comes on Barbara and tells us. Wrong yeshiva, Barbara. Okay, comes on. Yosef and tells us, hold on a second, I've got a question. Yo tengo una pregunta. What's aquí? See? I got one question for you. How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? How are you going to do it? So the same thing you should say to me. How are you going to make sure we're going to be an eternal nation? How are you going to make sure we're going to be forever? So I'll tell you what I'll do. We take a look and we see that there are people out there that they have their eternal national homeland. People live in different areas of the world and they stay in those areas. We are going to have an eternal national homeland and we will stay there forever. And if we stay in that land, that will be an assurance that we will survive. Is that a good beginning of an answer? Yes or no? You should then ask me, well, how are you going to guarantee we're going to stay there? But if I were to tell you we're going to go in a land and stay in that land, would that be a good follow-up to eternal nation? Yes or no? Yes. The answer is sure. Only problem is my next prophecy. Tell me what you think about this one. We will be an eternal nation. Prophecy number 2. We will be exiled and dispersed. Does that work?
No.
Not really. Let me show you a little short list of where we've been chucked from. Okay. France, Livonia, and Arab lands. Okay, so essentially, my friends, if you look and you search, then you will find it. We've been chucked time after time, but God will be waiting over and over and over. We've been thrown from here to there, up and down, all around. We're all over the place. And that's not even, forget the fact of Israel. We've been chucked again, you know. We're talking about every other land we go to, we're chucked all over the place. The Spanish Inquisition wanted us to bow. Whoa. But you get the point, right? It's been so many years, crying so many tears. Don't you know? Don't you really know? But you see, this is what happens. We're a miracle. We are a miracle. So understand, friends, this is where we find actual prophecy such salvation idea, against salvation. It says like this, and you I will scatter among the nations at the point of my drawn sword, leaving your country desolate and your cities in ruins. A wonderful prophecy. How about this one? I appoint heaven and earth as witness for you today that you will be cut off quickly from the land you are crossing the Jordan to acquire. You shall not remain there long, for you shall be wiped out. God shall scatter you among the peoples, and you shall be left few in number among the nations where God will lead you. A lovely bedtime story. Good night, sweet nightmares. Okay, so we see that indeed, is this what we would call a good follow-up or en contraire? Right, exactly. This, my friends, doesn't really help. How does baseball work? How many strikes? 3 you're out. This would be strike number 1. If you'd actually be paying attention and be my committee and me getting up here and saying, I think of a good idea, we'll be an eternal nation, we'll be exiled and dispersed, at that point you'd be like, it's good me, it doesn't really make so much sense. But at that point, it just doesn't work and you'd walk out. What you got, baby?
Aren't those prophecies conditional? It says that if we don't follow this one, so here
Yes.
And if your idea is that they're an external nation, so I think that eventually they can be exiled. That's probably the way to get it.
Yeah, certainly. The question was, aren't these prophecies conditional? And the answer is that absolutely. Not the first one of eternal nation. We's going to be out. This is regardless. Oh, we're regardless.
No, exactly. So if they're establishing an eternal nation, then eventually they'll probably get exiled.
Okay, that would true what you're saying. The question though is the following. Would it make sense for me to get up as an individual person, number one, to be able to prophesy such a thing that this is definitely going to happen? And number two, would you as a listener say like, great, sign me up, right? And does it really follow that's going to happen? The Egyptian, the Persian, the Romans, what happened to them? They're all gone. But there's still Egypt, man. I saw it on a map. Okay, just because there are people that live there doesn't mean they're the same people. You understand? They're different people. We're the same people, the same culture, same stuff going on over here. Excellent question. Just listen to myself. Listen, excellent answer. Okay, so that, my friends, is when we got exile and dispersion. So at this point, you'd be like, let's go. I'll be like, hold on, I have a plan. Even though we're going to be exiled and dispersed, I have a plan to make sure we're going to survive. Let's take a look at other people that have been around for a very long time and maybe use their method of survival. For example, we all know India, China, Japan, very rich and old culture. They've been around for okay? They've been around for a very, very long time. You gotta sit in the front row for that one. They've been around for a very long time. Everything's doing great. Everything's wonderful. So let's use their method of survival. How did India, China, and Japan survive? Let's start with Japan. Anybody know how is it that Japan survived for so long? Okay, sushi is a food. Good. Very excellent. Thank you for sharing that with us. Another answer, though, as many of you said, is that where's Japan located?
Island.
Japan is in the middle of Japan. If you want to get to Japan, you have to travel pretty far to get to Japan. It's not something which is so simply, let's just go to Japan. It doesn't work like that, you understand? You have to travel, you just got to get in a boat. You just got to go to rough waters to get to Japan. Therefore, the way they survived was just Japan went to the middle of nowhere. So friends, as a matter of fact, Japan. As a matter of fact, the Mongols tried twice in the 1600s. A monsoon came and knocked the whole fleet. It's just too much. As recently as World War II, when the Americans were decided to maybe go and invade Japan, they decided, if you go into Japan, you're going to have 1 million casualties. So then they said, time to drop the bomb. And that's when they dropped the atomic bomb. Unbelievable. So how about this one? Fine, Japan didn't exactly. Let's use the same methodology. Japan, we are going to have our homeland in the middle of nowhere. It's not going to be the middle of 3 continents, but it is. You see, this kind of doesn't work. If we're using Japan's methodology, number one, we're going to be exiled, but at least let us be somewhere very far away. We're in the middle of everything. Back in the day, if you wanted to go to Asia, Europe, or Africa, you had to travel through Israel. Jerusalem is the most conquered city in the world. It's been conquered in upwards of 1 million times. That's impossible, I made it up. The real number is approximately 36 times. It's been conquered and conquered and conquered. Anybody went on the tunnel tours? Tunnel tours. Right, so you saw it was built upon, built upon, built upon, built upon, built upon, built upon. No, just 8. Right, so it's built upon them over and over again. Unbelievable, it's conquered and conquered again. We can use exactly Japan's methodology. All right, so how about India and China? What was their methodology of survival? Don't get confused by Nepal. What was India and Japan and China's method? How did they survive?
Mountains.
The Great Wall of India. Good, that's one. Anyone else? Mountains. Okay, anyone else? Land, like Russia, pretty big, never got conquered, it's still there, doing great. Anyone else?
Huge. 7-Eleven.
Good. There are just so many people. How many people are there? How many people are there? Right? Unbelievable. How many people are there? We're talking about tons and tons, billions of people. So let's do the same thing. We will tell them there's going to be so many people that you won't be able to conquer us. Only problem with that is the next prophecy. We're going to be few in number. Does that help? Does that help eternal nation or hurt it? Does it help or hurt? Hurt. Answer, hurt, baby. Feel pain. Instead, that's pretty bad. Sound to a Slim Jim. We're talking about pain. Where do we find such a prophecy? Says the following Deuteronomy, you shall remain few in number among the nations where God shall lead you. Pretty clear?
Yes.
We're good? They're right over there? Messed up on the 50-50. All right, answer is, friends. Now at this point, it's like when you zone in, it's just like, are you with me? You're like, yeah, you can calm down whatever you want. All right, so what do we say, friends? The answer to this question that you should be asking, though, is? Didn't the Bible already say we're going to be very great in number, like the stars of the heavens? Sounds familiar? That comes up. Any of you, what's your name?
Your name. It's not Gabi.
Just what's your name? You don't. Okay. Do you want me to say the whole thing? What?
I want to be specific.
Yeah.
Who's the twin? Is your name like Jonathan Ben Shmat or something like that? Jonathan. Okay, so comes Jonathan and tells us conditional. Like it says in the book of Deuteronomy, you should remain few in number, whereas you could have become as numerous as the stars of the heavens, because you would not obey the voice of the Lord your God. So we see, my friends, indeed, the fact is pretty impressive that we're going to be few in number. And it doesn't really make so much sense, because we know the first mitzvah in the Torah is have lots of kids. Let me make this clear with your spouse. But have lots of kids. And we know, though, it's a little strange. The average secular couple has between 1.2 kids and a dog. Okay? Know what you're thinking? Where's the 0.2? The average ultra-Orthodox family has somewhere between 14 and 34 kids. So if you just do a little math, then we know that we have an ancient people and a high birth rate. We should have lots of Jews. Is that wrong? But how many Jews do we actually have? Take a look at this. This is phenomenal. In the year 200 BCE, there were 30 million Chinese people. The population of China was 30 million people. Today, there are over 1.3 billion. In the year 1 CE, there was a census done. The Jewish people were between 6 and 8 million people. If we were to take the same growth rate as China, with all the euthanasia, if we took the same growth rate, today we should be somewhere between 250 and 750 million Jews. How many Jews are we, though? On a high number, approximately 14 million. So everybody hear how crazy this is. Approximately 14 million Jews. The whole thing is actually phenomenal that would be the case. Let's look at a pie chart, because let's face it, we all love pie. We know that 20% of the world is China, 19% India, and then, can I get a little sliver, please? Just a little piece, thank you. Right? The Jewish people, they're less than 0.25% of the world population. Now, my friends, is few in number. If I were to prophesy such an idea, would you say to me, oh yeah, that'll work with eternal nation, or less so?
Less so.
That'll be strike number, don't get confused? Yeah. Strike number 2, friends, but don't worry, because we have an Englishman in our midst. Where are you from? London. Okay, have you heard of a band called the Beatles? Now, the question sounds silly, but for those who know the history of the Beatles, you'll know that the Beatles did not become famous in England. They became famous in good America. So they became famous in America. That's where they made it big. And then they went back and they made themselves so big. But the Beatles have a very famous song. All you need is love. Don't worry, people. Even though we're going to be exiled and dispersed, even though we're going to be few in number, have a plan to make sure we're going to make it. Everyone in the world is going to love us. Everyone in the world is just going to hate us. Anti-Semitism. Is that something which works with eternal nation? Not really. Let's take a look and see where we find such an idea. Take a look, my friends, again. And those of you who survive in the land of your enemies, I shall make so faint-hearted that if leaves rustle behind them, they will flee headlong as if from the sword, that no one pursues them. Stumbling over one another as to escape a weapon while no one is after them. So helpless, helpless, helpless. Will you be to take a stand against your far foes? You shall perish among the nations, and the land of your enemies shall consume you. Oh, okay, how about this next one, which I'm going to skip? But okay, it says bad things also. In the morning you'll say only, or at night, in the night you say only morning. Such will be the dread that your heart will feel, and the sights that your eyes will see. So indeed, we're starting to see, my friends, anti-Semitism is pretty intense. There is a random line on the board. Moving along. It is now gone. And there it is, totally gone. And now we move on. Now, people, if you hate black people, wrong presentation, I'm so sorry. Very simple question. If you hate black people, what are you called? Big thing for you, and a racist. Thank you. Someone said the wrong thing wrong. Okay. If you hate black people, you're called a racist. If you hate white people, what are you called? Superman. Okay, what are you called? A racist. Good for those who got that. If you hate Arabs, what are you called? Jewish. Again, what are you called?
Smart.
Racist. If you hate Asians, what do you call? Racist. If you hate Jews, what do you call? Isn't that lovely? We have our own special name. Anti-Semitism. Let's take a look and see what that is. Definition: anti-Semitism, anti-sem, anti-noun, discrimination against or prejudice or hostility. Little house with the number one or prejudice or hostility toward Jews. The concept of anti-Semitism is quite specific. Now, I'm going to throw out a fancy word for you. What does etymology mean?
That's the source of the word.
Good again. One guy's like, word. Okay. Etymology is the origin of a word. So if you come up with a word, what does the etymology mean? Where does it come from? So one would expect that, what is anti-Semitism? Who speaks Hebrew?
I do.
Who speaks Hebrew? Do you really speak Hebrew?
I swear.
¿Cómo se dice en hebreo anti-Semitism?
Okay.
Anti-Semitic.
Just repeat what Jonathan Menchabat said. Anti-Shemiut. Why is it called anti-Shemiut? Because we had a guy named Noah. Ding! Noah had 3 kids. Shem, Ham, and Yafes. Shem is where the Jewish people come from. So if you hate Jews, you're hating Shem, anti-Shem, anti-Shemiut, anti-Semite. Where do the Arabs come from? Shame. So you hate an Arab, what should you be called? An anti-Semite. But that's not the case. Why? Because actually the origin of the word comes from someone else. There's a guy by the name of Wilhelm Marr. He was a German journalist in 1879. He came out with a paper that said there is such a hatred towards the Jews in Germany as early as the late 1800s, that there's such a hatred that it needs its own name. And he coined the phrase, he made up the word anti-Semitism. The word didn't exist before. Anti-Semitism specifically for the Jews. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of words that we have that are used by many people that started just with the Jews. Holocaust, Greek in origin, Holocaust, but was used specifically for Jews. Genocide, specifically Jews. Mummy, pogrom, Jews, ghetto, Jews. Unbelievable. We start to see these things just particularly to us, anti-Semitism. Now we understand the fact that anti-Semitism is pretty intense. Skip this, now we're done. How intense is it? Let's take the uniqueness of anti-Semitism. Universality, intensity, longevity, originality. Let's start with universality. Where around the world have we been hated? That's correct. Next. All right. Now, intensity. How intense is the hatred? You see, the intensity is pretty intense. Some would say bastante intenso. See, what's the intensity? Well, you don't like your neighbor, you don't want him to live near you. Maybe you let the air out of his tires, or set up a whole system to kill his family. Not exactly, right? This is pretty intense. What do we do here? The final solution, trying to go ahead and get rid of everybody. That, my friend, is pretty intense. How about longevity? How long have we been hated?
A while.
Okay, a very long time. I don't know what that was. Okay, and we have irrationality. Irrationality. You can ask one person 2 times, why do you hate the Jews? Well, very simple, because they're rich, you know what I mean? They're so poor. I just hate Jews because they're beautiful. They just are so ugly. Because they're different, the same powerful. We down in passive blues. Follow those Catholics, okay, monarchs, they're my favorite. I can't stand those religious fanatics. They're such atheists. You ask one person 2 times, or you ask one person in every generation. Every generation blames the Jew before. Every generation we want to come up with a problem. The problem is the Jew. Right? This is unbelievable. But I think the number one study ever done in anti-Semitism was done by a Professor Cohen. Maybe you guys have heard of him before. Oh, it's not here. Yeah, okay, forget it. Next. Anyway, what was supposed to be there is a fellow by the name of Sacha Baron Cohen. Have you heard of him before? Professor Cohen comes along and he made many different movies that were deep, in-depth studies about anti-Semitism. Essentially making very anti-Semitic videos. Now the question is, why would Borat, or what's the other guy's name? Bruno or Ali G. What's Pshat? For those who does not know what I'm talking about, there is still hope for mankind. The The rest of us are going down. You're doing good, Rabbi. Rabbi, you're doing great. Okay. So I don't know what it is either, Chas Shalom. You know what I'm saying, okay? Like I said, there's a guy by the name of Sacha Baron Cohen. Sacha Baron Cohen goes around, makes different videos and movies, which are quite inappropriate, disgusting, horrible taste, but very funny. And he goes ahead, and what he does, he makes a lot of money from it. But why did he start doing what he does? This many people do not know. Does he have in your shul?
No, my friends have seen him in shul.
What's that?
My friends have seen him in shul, but not my shul.
Your friends don't go to shul? Anyway, so he goes ahead, and Sacha Baron Cohen, a Jewish guy, makes his videos. How come? His grandfather was an Auschwitz survivor. And he wanted to show the world that even though someone does not know what a Jew is, they'll still hate them. That's when he came out with this hit song,
In my country, they
Throw the Jew Down the Well. He goes into some hick town bar and he starts singing, in my country there is problem. I'm not going to do the accent because you won't understand, and the problem is the Jew. So he starts thinking, throw the Jew down the well. Everyone's like, throw the Jew down the well. So my country can be free. So his country can be free. We must grab them by their horns. We must grab them by their horns. And then we'll have a big party. Everyone's like, woo-hoo-hoo. Imagine he would have got up and said, throw the midget down the well. I'm going to be like, that's horrible. How can you talk like that? We're going to challenge it. But when it comes to the Jews, you can go ahead and say whatever you want. Everything's fine, and there's such a deep hatred going on. Anti-Semitism, my friend. Now, what would you think again? Does this support the eternal nation or not so much? This is what we would call strike number 3. 3 and you out, baby. Now let's take a look, though. Pretty impressive. I want to share with you, if this were really to be, if you were able to get your head around this, that I am now telling you this, you've never heard of Judaism, not true at all, I'm actually trying to make it up. I said, guys, come together, I have an idea, we're going to start Judaism, we're going to tell people we're going to be the eternal nation, we're going to be exile and dispersed, we're going to be few in number, everyone's going to hate us, it's going to be wonderful. You're going to be like, dude, what? Like, what are you talking about? But I'll tell you something else, you know what else is going to happen? What would you expect is going to happen if people were to go through this? Would you expect them to exist? And even if they did exist, would you expect them to be unbelievably strong and affecting the world and changing it for the better, or bleeding from every orifice, crawling on the ground and waiting to get kicked in the head again? A or B? I would expect B as well, my friends. Unbelievable. Yet, next prophecy, even though all this stuff, we are going to be a lighthouse, a light onto the nations. We're going to be a light to the nations. We're going to affect the world. Where do we find such an idea? So take a look over here in Genesis. I will make you into a great nation. I will bless you and make you a great name. You will become a blessing, and I will bless those that bless you and curse those who curse you. Through you, all the communities of the earth shall be blessed. Or how about this one, as it says pretty clear in Isaiah? I, the Lord, have called you in righteousness and will hold your hand and keep you, and I will establish you as a covenant for the people, for a light unto the nations. Or, a little more clear, underlined, nations, so then go by your light. And kings by your radiant illumination. So indeed we find the idea that we're going to be a light to the nations. And is it not true? Have we affected the world? Let's start with this. What's this over here? It rhymes with Nobel Prize.
Nobel Prize.
Good, the Nobel Prize. How many percentage-wise Jews have won the Nobel Prize? 25. We're less than 0.25% of the world population. That means less than 1%. Got it? We're less than 1%. Yet, we have between 20 and 30% of Nobel Prize winners are Jewish. Okay, and what's this over here? Kosher phone. Okay, this is a cell phone, right? Who created the cell phone? Israeli technology. What's this over here? Drip irrigation. Unbelievable technology that is now being shown to the entire world to be able to use water in a way which is the most effective in places that don't have so much water, even those that do. Unbelievable. Okay, who's top left? What's that guy? Einstein, Jewish guy. What's this over here? Wait, he's created by? A Jew. What's this over here? Facebook. Stolen by? Created by? Something? A Jew. Okay, so we start to see, my friends, that indeed we've done some pretty amazing things. But is that what we mean when we talk about light into the nation? My friends, we mean something more than just being a secular mathematician or scientist. When we talk about the idea, we mean monotheism. The fact that we're going to affect the world with one God. Okay, we're going to affect the world in such an unbelievable way. Take a look at a quote over here from one of my favorite quotes besides Gemara. Favorite quote from John Adams. I will insist that the Hebrews have done more to civilize men than any other nation. If I were an atheist and believed in blind eternal fate, I should still believe that fate had ordained the Jews to be the most essential instrument for civilizing the nations of our atheists of the other sect. I should believe that chance had ordered the Jews to preserve and propagate to all mankind the doctrine of a supreme, intelligent, wise, almighty sovereign of the universe, which I believe to be the great essential principle of all morality, and consequently of all civilization. Listen to these words. They are the most glorious nation that ever inhabited this earth. The Romans and their empire were but a bauble in comparison to the Jews. They have given religion to 3/4 of the globe and have influenced the affairs of mankind more and more happily than any other nation, ancient or modern. And we have people trying to run away from Yiddishkeit. Are we out of our minds? We're the most ancient, most glorious, most amazing nation, coming from a non-Jew again. My friends, the fact that we're going to be a light into the nations is quite phenomenal. We got 2 more quickly we're going to run through now. Second to last one, there's something called interdependence. There's a Y there, it shouldn't be there. Interdependence, E in place, but interdependency. A relationship between a people and their land. What does it mean, a relationship? It's not just like, I love you, land. But the land says, I love you too. Yeah, what does that mean? It's a connection, love. What does that mean when we say, at love? We need to say an actual connection between the land. What did the land of Israel look like before the Jewish people got there? So comes the Torah tells us. In this week's parasha, look at that. I've come down to rescue them from Egypt's power. I'll bring them out of the land to a good spacious land, to a land flowing with milk and honey. And it's about halal. Halal, we're talking about an unbelievable, you're late in class, don't worry about it. Right, we're talking about unbelievable, the next time you walk down the street, something's going to be like, do those. Okay, so what did it say? Bring you to a beautiful land. The land was gorgeous. The ground was unbelievable. But what ends up happening, my friends? Take a look at what Josephus says. You know Josephus? You know what that was, Josephus? He was a historian at the times of the temple. He says the following idea. For the whole area is excellent for crops, or pastures, or rich in trees of every kind. So by its fertility, it invites even those least inclined to work on the land. In fact, every inch of it has been cultivated by the inhabitants, and not a parcel goes to waste. It is thickly covered. And thanks to we're covered with towns, and thanks to the natural abundance of the soil, the many villages are so densely populated that the small city has more than 15,000 inhabitants. We're talking about, if you don't understand a word of that, here's the bottom line. It was gorgeous. We're talking about a gorgeous, beautiful land. It's gorgeous, beautiful land. What happens when the Jewish people leave the land, though? Don't think that no one tried to live here. We had the Byzantines, Babylonians. Don't get me started on the Mamluks, the Fatimids, or the Abbasids. We had so many people trying to grow this place. But even though they tried to grow it, when the Jewish people left, what happened? They weren't able to grow it anymore. So devastated will I leave the land that your enemies who live there will be astonished. Your land will remain desolate, and your city in ruins. Ezekiel, another quote, moving along. Point is, my friends, we're starting to see something. This doesn't belong here. Let's get rid of it. We have this unbelievable, gorgeous land. Now, what ends up happening to this beautiful land? It comes along Mark Twain. You remember this guy? He says the following idea. Mark Twain came to Israel in 1867. In reference to history, that's very recent, 151 years ago. We traverse some miles of desolate country whose soil is rich but is given wholly to weeds. A silent, mournful expanse of desolation is here that not even imagination can grace with the pomp of life and action. We reached Tabor safely. We never saw a human being in the whole route. We pressed on towards the goal of our crusade, renowned the Jerusalem. The further we went, the hotter the sun got, the more rocky and bare, repulsive and dreary the landscape became. There was hardly a tree or a shrub anywhere. Even the olive and the cactus, those fast friends of a worthless soil, had almost deserted the country. No landscape exists that is more tiresome to the eye than that which bounds the approaches to Jerusalem. Jerusalem is mournful, dreary, and lifeless. I would not desire to live here. It is a hopeless, dreary, heartbroken land. Palestine sits in sackcloth and ashes. Now, I didn't give you the last quote. The last line is, Palestine is no more of this workday world. Now, I don't know if you guys know a little Jewish history, and I mean in the past 15 years, but there was a little place called Gush Katif. You guys familiar? Yeah. What happened with Gush Katif? Jews were living there, and what happened? They kicked the Jews out of the land. Now, that area of Gush Katif was not just people living there. Those people were living there. This is their homes, this is their place, and also, they used to grow vegetables there. They grew vegetables that they supported and they distributed through the entire Israel in Gush Katif. We still know of Gush Katif vegetables, even though it's not really from Gush Katif. Gush Katif, unbelievable. Not only did they give Israel, but they were also exporting in excess, that means more, of than $200 million a year in produce to outside the land of Israel. Palestine is no more of this worldly world. Now, friends, I think it's quite impressive, the fact that it's very much not the case. Try to imagine the Native Americans living in Native America. And there they are, and they see the white man coming. And they're like, uh-oh. So the chief calls everyone together and says, land, when the white man arriveth, make sure that you lay fallow. Do not grow anything, any vegetation or herbs of any kind. Big bear, small chief, big river, let's go. And we know from the time that the Native Americans left America, America has remained a barren, desolate wasteland. But that's not true. We have buildings and cabs. My friends, it's become a superpower of the world, second only to China. Unbelievable, the connection that we have with the land of Israel. Where there things grow, we leave, things stop growing. It's quite phenomenal, my friends. This ain't no games. Okay, how about this one? Last but not least, we have return again, return to the land of your soul. Okay, so the fact is what? That we coming back. We coming back to the land of Israel. What does that mean? That's unbelievable. What do you mean? Has there ever been a person, of people that were on the land, kicked out of the land and came back? What's the answer? Yeah. No. Good. No people have been kicked out of the land and come back except for the Jewish people. Twice. Back, come back again, and now we're in exile again. But unbelievable. Let's take a look and see the quote. And the Lord your God shall return you from your captivity and have compassion upon you. He shall return and gather you from among all the nations, and the Lord your God will bring you into the land your fathers inherited. You will acquire it, and he will make you even more prosperous and numerous than your fathers. Or another quote over here we have from Jeremiah says, for thus says God, shout with joy for Jacob. Exalt at the head of the nations. Proclaim your praise and say, O God, deliver your people, the remnant of Israel. Behold, I will bring them back from the northern lands and gather them from the ends of the world. We're starting to see some pretty impressive stuff, people. The Jewish people are going to make their way back to the land of Israel. Wow, what does that mean? Let's take a look. Does anyone know how many Jews were living in Israel in the year 1900, percentage-wise?
0.5.
Not bad. Not bad at all. 0.5%. Today, what's the percentage of Jewish people living in Israel? Is that right?
I think it's around 65.
Okay, I don't know either, but thank you all for coming. Okay, the answer is that this number is outdated. It says here 48%, it's over 50%. More than 50% of the Jewish world is living in Israel. It's phenomenal. In a 115-year period, it should go from 0.5 to more than 50%. That, my friends, is what we call absolutely crazy. And we take a look over here, as it says in Ezekiel, we're coming back. You look at that another time. All right, so now we take a look, and what do we see, my friends? This beautiful thing, where it started was that the Jewish people are here, and what happens? There's nothing, but all of a sudden, what happens?
Stop. There's something.
Can you hear it?
Let the rain wash away pain of yesterday.
I'm coming. The Jewish people actually make their way back to the land of Israel. After it being nothing, they build it up from nothing. They come to this desert again, there was not no one else. And yet what do we find? Unbelievable that we come back and we're going to change unbelievable things. My friends, let's take a look at this entire thing. The fact that the Jewish people are going to return and we're coming home, we're coming home. That, my friends, is quite phenomenal. Let's take a look at this just one more time. Let's understand what this means. I want you to try to imagine. I'm assuming some of this is Shana Aleph. Yeah. Okay, so you guys know Crack Square, right? There's a little place in Yerushalayim, it's called Crack Square. Unfortunately, in Yerushalayim, they can't afford to fix things, and the pavement there's a little bit uneven. That's why it's called Crack Square. And people do crack there. Now try to imagine for a moment, yes? Panamati. Okay, so now try to imagine, you know the canal, you know, it's Mexico, but whatever. Okay, so now, you know, like it's going like this. We have a person going along. You go to Crack Square, okay? What's your name? Yeah. Oh, your name also. Spliff, you call it. Is that right? Okay, you're Joshua? Joshua? Okay, Joshua. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm going to go with an English person. All right, here we go. So Joshua, you're hanging out frolicking around in town. You end up in Crack Square. Someone comes seemingly out of nowhere and goes over to you and is like, yo. Listen, all right? Listen to me. Listen. In 10 minutes. Listen. In 10 minutes, it's going to be a little rumble in the Bronx. You know what I'm saying? You're like, I actually do not know what you're talking about. It's going to be a little bit of, it's going to go crazy. The ground's going to start shaking. It's going to shake, and then the ground's going to open up. It's going to open up. 10 golden chariots are going to pop out. They're going to circle your head 3 times, and then they're going to fly off. Yo, listen. Joshua, what would you then be thinking? Right.
He's all drugs.
Give me that.
You see, the Englishman is like, he's all drugs. The Americans are like, another day at the office. Yeah? All right, good. What, Joshua, would you then be thinking? What would you then be thinking? Listen carefully. What would you then be thinking if 10 minutes later you started to feel the ground shaking? You'd be like, oh, mi Dios, ¿qué es esto? Right? You go ahead, you take a step back, and then the ground opens. You're like, oh. And what happens then? 9 golden chariots pop out, and you say, I thought 10. And then the 10th one pops out. It circles your head 3 times, and then they fly off. Nobody slipped you anything. You did not do any drugs. You didn't drink, you didn't smoke, you didn't inhale, you didn't anything. Right? No brownies, no nothing. Yes? No special challah. You were not involved in anything you shouldn't have been involved in. What would you then be thinking in that moment? Say again, please. Oh, smoking makes you a prophet. That's what you were thinking. That's a wonderful conclusion. Okay, but you did bring a prophet. In other words, you'd say, like, what's going on over there? Does everybody hear that? Yeah. What would you be thinking? Who was that guy? What's going on? Is it phenomenal? Yes or no? Yeah. Is it phenomenal that the ground opened up, 10 golden chariots popped out and circled your head? Yes or no? Yeah. What's even more phenomenal? That somebody predicted it before it ever happened. Does everybody get this? This is a take-home. Listen carefully. The fact that the Jewish people were exiled and dispersed. We saw the quote in the beginning. What happened to everybody who was exiled and dispersed? And they still survived. Is that phenomenal? Yes or no? Yes. The fact that the Jewish people were few in number and are few in number and we're still here. Phenomenal. Yes or no? Yes. The fact that everybody hates us and wants to kill us still and we're still here. Phenomenal. Yes or no? Yes. The fact that we're so in these cases and we're still a light unto the nations. Does that make sense? Phenomenal. The fact that we have connection with our land. Phenomenal. The fact that we came out. Phenomenal. My friends, every one of these is phenomenal. Put them all together, it doesn't even make any sense. What brings it above and beyond everything? The fact that all of this was predicted beforehand. Everybody hear this? So when you go and you say, like, well, how do you even know, like, the Torah is like, you know what I'm saying? Because, like, not even, but how do you know? So that guy, forget it. He's gone. One more time. You know what I'm saying? Well, the reason you know is 7. You're like, oh. Okay, he's gone. Yeah, and 7 is Gematria Shabbos. Oh. Okay, but anyone who's actually thinking, you open your eyes, you start to say, oh my goodness, this is unbelievable. Nothing like this. The fact that all these individually are crazy. And the fact that it was predicted, is it likely? Is it reasonable? Does it make sense to say that this came from an individual? My friends, absolutely not. Perhaps the reason is because this book was not written by an individual, a person. This was written by the hand of the Lord. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. See you next week.